I think the first answer would be pretty much we have proven over the last 30 years you actually can't, right? So it's pretty impossible. And we all have tried it and we given it the best shot we had and it didn't work out. And one of the things that we learned over doing over the last 11 years is it actually has to do with the way we try to influence people. So we spent 6 months in creating new strategy for the IT department, right? And we put it on slides, and it's all brilliant and perfect, and the whole end state, the point B, is really in our mind. And then we go to our teams, and then we do a 20 minutes, slides, factual, here's a new strategy, go execute. And for whatever reason, it actually doesn't work, which really still seems to surprise people, right? What we also learned is that it is possible to change the way people work and think and feel within the IT organization. And that's not by presenting facts, it's also not by presenting strategy, but really is about telling stories. And one of the interesting things that we have added to our set of project skills, things that we do in IT, is really storytelling. Let the CIO tell a story. A completely, very personal, his own story about something that went right or wrong or whatever, that is linked to the strategy and that results in something that actually is something that people can understand and start doing it themselves. Because if you look at the Unorganization team from today and tomorrow, one of the outcomes most likely will be that people will actually have to drive themselves. It's no longer the old management style, the old management skill that we used to have for the last 30 years. Storytelling is probably the best way forward to get people moving in the right direction. And we have many examples where it actually works. We already knew it worked, and it's interesting to see that you also see scientific studies from Harvard and MIT that storytelling might actually be the key influencer that we have in IT. We all think in IT we're really, really important, right? And the fact of the matter is, if you would ask any line of business that IT is a nuisance, it's maybe not too relevant. It's a cost center, it's a support function that's out there. Well, that's not the way we see ourselves as IT, but certainly is the way we're looked upon, right? In this new world we're all entering right now, actually IT becomes really, really relevant. So IT becomes relevant towards the business. We're no longer a cost center. We're really going to be part of the value chain in there. And that means that we sort of have to gain ground in the business as IT says we can be relevant. And we have done it a certain way for a long time, but we can do it in a different way. And again, that is not done by stating facts. It's done by creating stories, relevant stories that really explain in a storytelling way towards the business. This is how we have done it in the past. This is what we're going to do in the future. And this is the result you're going to see in, let's say, the next 30, 60, 90 days. So I think the storytelling actually works both ways. It's from the CIO to his team in his own IT organization. And at the same time, it is from the CIO and his management team to the line of business and the C-level. So we can be relevant. We can play a role. We can actually help you to make this digital disruption and the way you respond to that real. I'm a young man. I'm only doing this for pretty much 35 years, right? So that's the whole experience I can bring to the table. If I look at the way that typical IT organizations have been presenting themselves, they're so down in the weeds, they're so busy to try to make everything actually work and operational and media SLA and stuff. They have been doing a very poor job in marketing themselves. One of the first things that we actually do with CIOs and their team is forget about the content. The content is nice and what you be doing and that's all brilliant and your ideas are great, but you gotta start marketing yourself. If you do something right, gain visibility. Yeah? If you do something wrong, take a marketing approach, take a communication approach to actually make that work. So I think there's a lot of things that we could do different, really where we can have an advantage in applying a different communication marketing strategy in the way an IT organization presents themselves. I work for a company that's very well known for hardware, for kit. And most of the customers that we meet, large and small organization, and the top 100 and all the other companies, they all go back to their comfort zone. So there is this notion that we have to transform. And at the same time, we go to our comfort zone, which always has been technology. So the whole transformation approach, the start, the way where they focus, the way where they spend their money and energy is really in the technology domain. And while that is important, because this new digital disruption is digital and it is driven by technology, there are so many other elements that are probably even more crucial to make it all work. So I think one of the things that we're really trying to make sure is that people say, yes, technology is important. It is a pillar that is going to dramatically change you do your business today. But there's so many other things that you need to take care of. The number one that we always see is people. People, culture, staff, organization, and links nice to the Unorganization team of this summit. The way we see people in the IT organization has always been like a resource, and we call them resources, right? If you treat resources like resources, they're not going to play ball, which is probably going to be the biggest obstacle, the biggest constraint in transforming. So I think technology as a primary focus is interesting, but it's not going to get you there. Right? Because that's it. You're trying to do something that's really new to your company within IT, but you're also doing something that a new operating model, as we call it, a new IT operating model, is really so new in this industry. Still is so new. There are very little examples of how you can look at Google and the Facebooks and the Spotifys to see how that works, but that might not directly apply to you if you're running a bank, right? So what we have seen is that actually, in order to make sense of what is happening from an organizational point of view, it really helps to look at other industries that already have gone through this transformation years before us. So what we really do is we look at, for example, logistics. The way it's organized in logistics, if you see what has happened there 10, 20 years ago, you can apply it in IT as well. If you look at manufacturing, the whole mindset in manufacturing, the whole way it's organized, the whole service-based way of creating new whatever it is you're going to sell, has a lot of similarities with what is happening in IT. So what we really use and apply as a metaphor, as a story, as an example, is look at this industry, and you know how Brown is going to pick up your packets if you're in New York. Now rethink that and apply it to IT. That really helps us to get a message across. Self-steering teams, that's the name of the game. Everybody wants to have self-steering teams, right? Which is going to be interesting, because if you look at any IT organization, and I'm going to go on to New York next week again, and if you ask them how you're organized today, they will come up with the typical silos, right? These are the guys that run network, and these are the guys that do storage, and these are the guys that do applications, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very siloed way of organizing today. And in Europe, particularly, what you have ITIL has been invented to actually make those people communicate, because they didn't talk to each other anymore. So main reason ITIL was invented. What we now need to do is getting those people actually sit in one team and offer a service where it really is highly irrelevant if something fails, if it's going to be storage or network of compute. But the fact is that it actually failing is the biggest thing they need to fix. And that making one team working together is really hard. And what we have learned is that, maybe the world is already wrong, is that we really need to spend a lot of time and energy and investment in unlearning. Because what you're really dealing with is people that are somewhere between 54, 50, 55 years old, younger than me, that have learned a certain way of doing stuff over and over and over and over again over the last whatever decades. So what we really need to do to make those teamworks is first unlearn what they find logical. And what we always say is whenever you have a habit, it means you have an action without thinking. I need to get rid of those habits. I need to get rid of this automatic response if something goes wrong, if something happens, if you need to create something. Most often we refer to it, for example, like the engineering mindset. If somebody asks you to do something, we're going to try to build the best engineering setup we have, the best storage and the best network and the best compute. And while that might be fun to do, and you have been always doing it that way, it might not be the best way to actually offer the service. So unlearning has been our biggest effort to actually get away from where you are today, combine it with the storytelling, and then actually build up new teams. Or the new teams are actually cross-silo. You as a team own the service, whatever the service is going to be. You're responsible. You take care of it. Nobody else is going to do it. And owning that responsibility is new to most people in IT, because they always have been responsible just a little part of the overall system. And that's really the starting point that we have taken. Unlearn. Nicely fits in the theme of this summit, I guess. Bimodel IT, or dual speed IT, or whatever name it's gonna have, really acknowledge something that is crucial to realize. There is no greenfield. If you look at any IT organization, and in the summit that already was mentioned, like in the first 5 minutes, what you see is that the whole organization is stretched to the max. There's nothing more we can do. We're all, less people, more work. There's no way we're gonna do it. That's the setting where we are. There is no greenfield. At the same time, there's this demand coming from the business that says, well, our business model is going to be digital. And digital means you guys as IT are crucial in our business model. It's really where where we say in Michigan, where we bet a farm. That's what you do. So rather than to try to change the existing IT organization, which might easily take 2 years, probably will take 2 years, you might not have 2 years to change your business model. So the whole bimodal IT, the way I look at it, is very much, you got to serve your business now, and you got to keep up and running what you have been doing all your life, which is still equally important. Bimodal is great. I don't think it actually serves the business much better than trying to transform the IT organization directly. The only thing that one point that you have to do is make sure that those two streams actually merge into one new organization, because otherwise, after you try to de-silo your current organization, you end up in new silos. Well, I think it's the best way to serve the business, which in the end is what we really have to do in IT if we want to regain our relevance again. If you look at the current IT operating model, it's the way we phrase it, the IT operating model of IT, and you would be able to define your future IT operating model, the one that you see in the future. You're not going to get there directly. Right? Changing that organization, changing there is going to be a transformation or a transition, as you said. That transition is going to be a process. It's going to take time. And in that process, applying bimodal IT principles is actually going to work you to show that you can be relevant. At the end, for most CIOs, if they really, if you ask them what is important, is I need to deliver in the next 30, 60, 90 days. I need to show that I can actually be relevant the next 180 days. That's it. And bimodal is a way to get you there. When I was young, probably when you're not born, sir, I learned to program in Clevel. That's how I actually started in university. And when I did it and when I started working, everybody told me, that's going to go away probably in 5 to 10 years max from now, right? If you look at today, that programming language is still the #1 programming language in the world. So I don't think the way we have been organizing stuff in the past will disappear. It might, and it's gonna slowly disappear, but it will be around for a long, long time. And it's much more the question, given that is my infrastructure, given that is my application landscape, given that is the workloads that I'm working with, is there a way that I can expose whatever is in there make it into a service that I can actually use in my other mode too, of my Bimodel IT. So use it. I think that's more the question than it's going to disappear. That's my opinion. If you would go into the room here, I'm sure with 150 people, you'll find like 200 opinions.